Thank you so much. I'm not going to speak about what I wrote in that paper because it's mainly kind of illegal paper. I want to talk about what is going on in Israel in general. About, last night I was fascinated to hear the speech of Mr. Xenophobia, the former foreign minister, who was describing the policy of Orban towards asylum seekers here in Hungary. And I was thinking at the beginning, as Radmir was saying, that he's speaking about Israel because the policies were so similar. But Mr. Kovac was also talking about the criticism here in Europe about the Hungarian policy, criticism that we don't hear in Israel, although the result is quite similar. All these asylum seekers that Hungary is pushing arrive to other countries of Europe, and in Israel it's quite the same. Israel is pushing asylum seekers from Eritrea and Sudan. We don't push them directly to Europe, but we push them at the beginning. We started by pushing them to their own countries, to Sudan and Eritrea, kind of constructive reforma. And when they understood that it's dangerous there, after several Sudanese were arrested and tortured, and several Eritreans disappeared after they left, then they stopped wanting going back to their own countries, and then Israel signed agreements with third countries. These are secret agreements. We know for sure that the countries are Rwanda and Uganda, although Israel do not reveal that these are the countries. And also Rwanda and Uganda do not acknowledge that such agreement exists, but we know for sure since we collected testimonies from dozens of people not in Rwanda because they were immediately deported to Uganda, but in Uganda, and we also collected affidavits from people who were deported to these places. They don't stay there because both Rwanda and Uganda don't allow them to stay. So the result is that they find a way to Europe. The lucky ones are already here in Europe, and the less lucky one died in the sea. One of them was even slaughtered by ISIS in Libya. We saw his photo after he was detained in the Holot facility. I think I want to say, I want to quote something that our former Minister of Interior, Eli Shai, said in 2012 that kind of defined the Israeli policy. He said, the threat of the infiltrators here is not less severe than the Iranian threat. Until I will have the possibility to deport them, I will jail them and make their life miserable. What we see is that since 2012, although several ministers of interior changed, we see that they follow this policy, making the life of asylum seekers in Israel miserable until they leave. And this is why I call it a constructive reforma. The reason it is possible, the reason the Israeli public allow it to happen is because the decision makers and the media and even the Israeli court is kind of cooperating with the government, calling these people infiltrators. Even Orban was calling these people just immigrants, but in Israel they are being called either infiltrators or even work infiltrators. The word infiltrator has a very pejorative meaning in Hebrew because it is connected to the Fadayun, those Palestinians who entered Israel in the 50s with the intention to sabotage in Israel. And whenever you say an infiltrator, then the Israeli public understand these people are dangerous, exactly as Dr. Dvorah Blum said at the beginning of this day. We see in the media that decision maker accused them of being involved in crime, although police data show they are less involved in crime than the Israeli public. The Ministry of Health speaking about 50 million lost deaths a year because of they don't have health insurance and they use hospitals when they are in a life-threatening situation. No one speaks about the fact that if they were granted the same health insurance that we Israelis have, and even if they were paying just the minimum payment, then the Israeli government would have earned 60 million shekel a year from what they would pay for it. Even if only 2/3 of them would have worked. A kind of a brother organization to ours, Kavla Oved, made a survey, and they checked and found that there are 10,000 asylum seekers working in construction in Israel. Their employers are already paying taxes for them, and these taxes are 300 million shekels a year. That's a lot of money coming into the Israeli economy out of these asylum seekers, but no one is speaking about their contribution. Everyone is just speaking about the fact that they are threat. And that's very upsetting. Our hotline, we visit the prisons several times a week, and we see people there, although they don't know what is going to be the policy next week, next year. We see people writing books, translating books. One of my friends just lately translated George Orwell, 1984. Yeah, 1984 book to Tigrinya. Others are drawing. They started taking photos, making exhibitions. There are very creative people locked up in the Israeli prison, and they can contribute a lot to the Israeli society and to any other society. And my last point is that unlike Europe, it's true that Israel have a border with Africa, an open border with Africa, but this border is sealed since 2012. The few people who manage to cross every year since 2012 are people that soldiers saw them coming from the torture camps in Sinai in very bad condition, and they even put ladders and helped them cross the border against the instruction. We can say that unlike Europe, Israel kind of controlling the situation on our southern border. We have now 41,000 Sudanese and Eritrean in Israel. That's the number. We managed already to deport voluntarily more than 10,000 people. I think it's time for us to look at these people, to think how we can absorb them, not as citizens, only as refugees, until it will be possible for them to go back to their own countries. Israel is a nation that was established by refugees, before refugees, and I don't see how we can continue treat refugees the way we do now. Thank you.
Thank you.